What happens when three high school friends reunite during a Trump apocalypse? I'll tell you what happens. They do a podcast, little buddy.
The Dead Body episode.
You are watching Generation Exile.
There are things that you tell your wife and things you don't tell your wife. If you break a vase, maybe you don't tell. When you receive dead photos of a naked old woman, you tell. I think you tell.
There appears to be on her thigh what looks more like feces than blood.
What do we do? What are we doing here, boys?
Do you guys want to hear a good COVID story?
Ooh, yeah.
Do you guys remember COVID?
No, what was that?
Feel free, by the way, to interrupt the shit out of this story, but I want to tell you, I have a very unique COVID story that I think is like an episode of Law and Order or CSI or, Criminal Minds. Insert your favorite procedural. And there you go. Dave, I'm so happy and joyful. Everyone should know that Dave has never watched an episode of Law and Order and didn't really know the chime until about an hour ago, and now has done a perfect rendition of it. So, yes. Dave, your job when I point to you will be to make the chum chum sound. You've earned yourself that role. So let me take you back to April 21st, 2020. So this would be roughly 2 months after humanity had been quarantining from the COVID disease. It's very important that you try and climb back into the way the world was. So you remember quarantining was pretty much we were all in a home or in an apartment in a place for like a good 5 or 6 months, I think was the bulk of it. And all sorts of, people meeting up with their old friends on Zoom, and we think we even did that.
Right.
People baking bread, like, making sourdoughs.
People getting Pelotons.
Yes, getting Pelotons. And it was a weird time. And people were washing their groceries, and you weren't really physically near anybody. You were distancing. We were learning words like distancing.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much a very weird time that nobody wants to talk about anymore. But I bring it up because I have got quite a weird story that happened all in the midst of it, and you're going to want to hear this, Dave. Oh, I didn't hear you. Your mic's off.
That's my bad.
This fucking story is ruined. Let's take two. No. And you're gonna want to hear what happened because I have a weird COVID story, Dave.
Dun dun.
So on April 21 in 2020 at exactly 10:22 p.m., I was sitting on the couch in my living room next to my wife Michelle. We were watching Fauda. Do you guys know the show Fauda?
That's the Israeli counterintelligence one.
Yes.
Okay.
So Michelle and I were watching Fauda, the Israeli, they dress up like Palestinians and infiltrate terrorist cells show. I remember thinking at that moment that Fauda needed like a good theme song, like the Love Boat, like Fauda.
It's Fauda, violence and intrigue in Israel. It's Fauda, where you never know who is under the veil.
But anyway, we're sitting on the couch. She's playing Candy Crush, which she often does, and I'm checking my texts on my phone. I have a standing group chat with the Jewish people I went to sleepaway camp with, of one of the many chats, and I remember that usually is up in the top, and it's a non-stop conversation of, 12 people that I've known since the 80s. And all of a sudden, I got a text. Bing! I look at the text, and it's not a number that I recognize, but it has two photos attached. If you'll allow me, I'd like to read to you a description of what each photo looked like.
What are you reading from?
I took notes. These are my notes of the photos. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So I open up the text message, the text has two photos attached. Photo 1, older woman, likely in her late 60s, early 70s, looks palish blue, bloated, contusions on her lip, eyes puffy, and from my best guess at the photo, we'll call her a Vic. The Vic appears to be dead. That's photo 1. So I would like to send you this photo right now, but I'm going to warn you that this is a difficult photo to look at.
What if I don't want to look at it?
I mean,
I'll look at it.
You're in charge of your eyes, so don't look if you don't want to look.
Yeah.
Wait, I have an idea, Dave. I'm going to send you. I'm going to send by group the AI version I made. How about that?
All right.
And
Wait,
then
I want to see the original first.
if Mike wants to see the original, I'll send that privately to him.
So was this someone sending you like a threatening message? And there was a
Michael-
second picture.
That's a great question, Michael. This is an approximation of what the first photo looked like.
Okay,
Do you
so
see
that's
it?
a dramatization.
Yes. So that is the sort of picture I was getting.
Okay.
I'd also like to see your reaction when I send you what the first actual one looked like.
Okay.
But Dave, you're not squeamish at looking at the photo that I just sent you, correct?
No, that's fine. I look like John Wayne Gacy, actually.
Michael, these photos I kept for legal reasons, but I still had them. I do not want to publish these, so I will not be putting these public for anyone to see. But for your eyes, did you just send me a text that says, hey, before I send this?
Yes.
Okay, that's you. All right, Michael.
All right, do your worst.
That's photo 1.
This has been kind of hyped up in my mind a little bit, so... okay, yeah, it looks a lot like the first one. You sent the dramatization.
Yes?
Except this looks kind of legit. Does this person resemble anybody you know in any way? As far as...
No, it does not. This is not a recognizable face.
Okay.
I'm going to send you photo 2 because the photo I just sent you, it could be someone having a laugh, right? It could be someone taking a piss out of me, like a friend saying, hey, here's what you look like or something. Or like when you go to the
Who would
Hallmark.
do that? What kind of friend of yours would do that? You
I got friends like that.
You can't have these friends, Jeremy.
You know when you go to like
nice friends.
the Hallmark aisle of CVS, and there's like a picture, greeting card of like a big, heavy-set, obese person with a joke. You know, that one could have been that, right?
Okay. I'm going to send you this picture for your birthday. And say, wishing you a great day. I'm sure it'll be better than hers.
So now I'd like to send you both the AI second image, which I've just sent. Yeah. And I want to preface this with a description of what the second photo looked like. Photo 2, wider shot of the same Vic, spread out on a bed naked, vagina exposed, scarring on the Vic's right leg, possible head trauma. Vic looks dead on arrival. Now keep in mind that these two photos were exactly under my Jewish camp friend chat from an unknown number. Dave, Law and Order sound? Thank you. And as you can see, I've redacted most of the woman's body for the purpose of, profanity and, I guess good, what's the word I'm looking for?
Taste. Decency.
Discretion.
But now I'm going to send the real photo to Michael only. Michael, please do not share this photo. Okay. But I'm showing it to you for scientific purposes of discussion. And God, did I just send it to my son by accident? No. Okay, good. That would be terrible. So now, Michael, you are now looking at the second picture that I got, and man, is that a bit of a doozy to receive.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's, it's basically a full body shot. The victim's naked. There are wounds, you can see the genitals and the breasts, and there's trauma to the head, and it's deeply disturbing. There appears to be on her thigh what looks more like feces than blood. I'm not sure what that is.
What do we do? What are we doing here, boys? What?
Like crime, it's like a crime scene picture. It's
It
like a crime,
certainly is.
it's
Dave.
a crime scene picture.
Dun dun.
So now I want to remind you that it is, what did I say, 10:22 p.m., April 21st, COVID quarantine, and I'm sitting on the couch with my wife watching Fauda, and I get these pictures. Now, this is the question I have for you. Do you tell your wife that you've just received these photos, or your significant other, your girlfriend? Michael?
Definitely not. Because it's going to
interesting.
be a whole thing, and I think I'd probably like wait to find out sort of more information
Like more pics?
before.
You waiting for like a calendar?
I would text them back and be like, "You up?" No, I mean, yeah.
So you
I mean,
wouldn't?
no, something like that. I'd be like, yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't even know what we're talking about here. let's wait to see what we're talking about first.
Dave, would you share this sudden text, COVID, 10 p.m. or whatever?
I would have to, because I would probably throw the phone down and go like, "Ew," or ugh, or ugh. You know, I'm squeamish about dead, maimed bodies.
Have you always been this way?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we not know this about you?
Well, because we're not Stand By Me. We've never seen a dead body. Like,
No, but we used to go to the rental store every like weekend and rent Gourmet Zombie Chefs from Hell, Invasion of the Blood Farmers, like the most gory shit you can imagine.
yeah, but that's all fake. It doesn't look real. This is like if I see the humanity in the corpse, then it gets stuck in my mind. I start thinking about, I don't know. It's just I don't want to have that intimate knowledge of someone's death, I guess.
Because it looks like a legit crime scene photo. It very much appears to be, disturbingly, perhaps, if you read into it, perhaps taken by the perpetrator, because it doesn't look like an official crime scene has been established.
Right.
So, as I think
Things
about it...
flashing through my head at the time.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little more background, too.
Yeah.
In 2020, I, Mr. Newberger, was a bit of a social media guy on what was Twitter.
Yeah.
So I was commenting often on Trump's tweets and getting called out in media as like, the 20 funniest things said about, this story and that story. I was a known entity on Twitter.
That's right.
Interacting with, news people, celebrities, and comedians and the like. And what comes with that is the hate and the threats. And in 2020, I already had received some pretty bad threats, death threats and the like. As a matter of fact, I was included on a list when a guy that ran for Congress named Paul Nealon, he made a target list of Jews that he was calling out to all of his white nationalists, hey, these Jews are like the troublemaker Jews. Would you like to see that list? Because I have that list handy, too. I think that would be a fun list to look at.
Anyone who starts making a list of Jews sounds an awful lot like...
Well, unless it's a list of who to save, then it's okay.
Yeah.
A good list.
Yeah, it's not... That's no Schindler's List.
And I just point out that some of the names on this list of Jews are pretty impressive Jews. And it is an honor and a privilege to be amongst some of these other Jews. Or at least I thought so at the time. At the time, I think Jake Tapper is on this list too, speaking of that guy. So I made myself known. But that, of course, also came with vile anti-Semitic, threats and whatnot. So now you have a little background as to my headspace, which that played into my decision to tell Michelle what was going on. Now, you guys know my wife a little bit. Someone who's, I don't want to say like paranoid, but she's someone who's pretty reactionary to things. So the first thing that she said was, you got to call the cops. what if this person's a killer? What if you're next? What if this connects you to a crime? You won't survive jail. You want to do that to our kids? This is because of Twitter, isn't it? What'd you say? You open that big mouth of yours again? This was the dialogue we were having at 10:30 in the evening.
See, that's exactly why I wouldn't say anything.
So now I'm thinking, shit. Now I gotta call the cops, Dave.
Dun, dun.
Thank you. So now I have to go through my calling the cops checklist of the things that you do when you're calling the cops to come to your house. You got to hide all the weed in your house. Remember, this is 2020.
Right.
You got to, do I call 911? Or do I call the front desk of the local precinct? Do I have to go on Google? Do I have to, the cops come in the house? Nobody's come in the house. It's the middle of quarantine. Remember? No one came in your house during COVID. Nobody at all. You wiped the counters for your groceries. No one got haircuts. Everyone was so pissed off. This was COVID. So the cop is going to stay on the driveway? And then how do I show him these photos? Should I print them out? Do I want to waste the toner ink on these pictures of this woman? I mean, these are the kind of stupid, mundane questions that were going through my head. So I eventually decided to call 911, and I got the phone dispatch, and they said, hello, Yorktown Police Department, how can we help you? I was like, I'm not sure how to report this, but they're like, just tell us what happened. I said, I just got a creepy text. And they said, can you describe the text? And I was like, I see dead people.
Did you whisper it?
Yeah, I see dead people. So now you're waiting for the police, and now it's getting late. It's like 50 p.m. or whatever. We're not yet in the 11 o'clock hour.
Did you start brewing some coffee?
I was still in the headspace of nobody's coming in the house, Michael. This is still in the list of what the worst things are. The disease that kills you and makes you get on a ventilator is still the top of the charts.
That's right.
And the threat of some dead naked woman, it's like 1 or 2 notches lower. So cops staying outside as far as I'm concerned. So I put on pants. I threw on a sweatshirt. I asked my wife, hey, do these jeans make my ass look big? Slipped on some sneakers, and I wonder, where the hell are the cops? We only live 2 minutes away from the police station. What's taking so long? But finally they arrive. Dave?
Dun, dun.
The officer arrives at the witness's house. Both officer and witness are wearing masks. The officer is wearing gloves. They're both standing on the driveway, obeying social distancing, 6 or 7 feet apart from each other. And I have a photo that I took from my Ring doorbell of this that I'd like to share with you.
Oh,
because
nice.
I have come prepared with receipts on this one. But you both now can see the picture of me in my favorite Yorktown wrestling sweatshirt and the officer. And you could see clearly blue gloves on the officer's hand and the distance between the two of us captured on ring.com. Not sure if this is legal. I guess I'll find out. But yes, that is the night in question. And now I'm trying to figure out, how do I show him the pictures? So of course he's going to ask. So of course he does. Can I see the photos? So I say, should I show you them on my phone or should I get my laptop? And then he looked at me funny. And I was like, my MacBook has a window that shows me my SMS chats at the same time as the text on my phone, so I could show it to you on my lap. All of a sudden, I'm working at Radio Shack in 1980, explaining to him.
All of a sudden, you sound like an antsy criminal. No, I swear, it's not like I have backups or anything. It's just like an automatic sync thing from the cloud. It's not like I
get it on my SMS on the laptop first, and then it comes on the text. But that's not important right now.
Nothing suspicious going on here. I swear.
Yeah, it's just all tied to my Apple ID. You see.
So after a long silent pause, the police officer says, "The phone is fine." And he said it just like that. So the officer points out maybe the scariest detail of the night, which is that it's not a photo that I'm showing him, but a live photo. Do you know what that is? There's a feature on Apple where you touch the photo, and for 3 seconds it was a video recorded, not just a photo. Michael, your mouth is gaping.
So there was a video to see when you touched the photo?
Yes. So each of those photos is not only a photo, but it's now become a 3-second video to watch with sound.
Oh my God.
So the cop and I are treated to...
Wait, you didn't know that? The cop figured that out?
Yeah, I mean, I if I had paid a little closer attention to the picture, I would have saw the little icon that's, touched. It's like a spiral or a little circle that says live. But I didn't think about that. So
now it's very suspicious that you have all this technology. You could do a multimedia presentation for the police, and yet you didn't click open when you got that?
It's not an open as much as it's like a hover. And at the time, I remember these pictures, they're like a hot potato. You want to get them the fuck out of your world as quick as possible.
Sure.
You're not petting them and playing with them. And, I'm not putting them through Photoshop and fixing the contrast. Oh, I can make her a lighter shade of blue.
Balloons. I could add balloons in the frame.
She's dead. She's naked. She's big. She's old. This is disgusting. And I could be someone could be outside the house waiting to murder me. So I wasn't exactly, let's make the photo come alive. But now I am making the photo come alive with the police officer.
And what did you see?
It gets really creepy. You tap on it, and for 3 seconds, we watch the sound of someone breathing behind the camera. The perp or the culprit or the murderer or whoever that took those pictures, as you so diligently pointed out, were taken by a third party, is breathing like, Son of Sam or something. Wow. And now I'm completely freaked out because I'm holding a real life murder in my hands. Dave, this is a...
Dun dun.
Here's where I know you were making fun of my tech smarts, but the officer takes out his phone and starts snapping pictures of my phone. And I was like, you don't want me to airdrop this stuff? And he was like, no, it's all right. I'm like, you sure? It's going to be bad quality? You don't want this? He's like, no, it's fine. So, airdrop be damned.
Does he take stills, or is he taking a video of the mini video?
He was taking stills. So, for me and for you and for the layman, this is oh my God, this is the, the murder of the century. For this guy, he's probably been in real crime scenes and dealt with it's like a dead old woman and it's not such a big deal. So he takes a picture and he tells me, he agrees the woman looks dead. He says that he will call the number and investigate, and he suggests that I block the number. Then,
quick question though.
Yes.
Wouldn't you want? I mean, I know it's disturbing, but wouldn't you want to leave the number open or unblocked so that if you're getting further threats,
After you called the police, your victimhood suggests that you shouldn't get any more threats. You want to remove yourself from this murder story that you have nothing to do with. So, and clearly the woman's dead already, and this guy doesn't seem to think this is the crime of the century. So,
right.
I guess it didn't matter so much. In my head, I'm still there's a murderer lurking. So the cop pretty much leaves. And promises that he'll call us when he finds out what's going on. And now, I'm a little on edge. I just heard a breathing murderer, maybe. So I go into the living room. I tell Michelle what happened. And then I decide I'm going to transfer the photos before I block the number from my phone to my laptop to put in a folder as evidence should I need them for legal reasons in case this is a threat against me and whatever. So as I'm transferring the dead, naked, fat old woman pictures from my phone to my laptop, my 13-year-old daughter, Annabelle, comes downstairs.
Oh, boy.
And now I have to explain why she can't come over to the couch. Oh, no, stay over there. And all of my failings as a father are front and center for me at that exact moment. But yeah, the fear I had is that I have been mocking Trump at that point for 4 or 5 years, and that someone might be trying to scare me out of my very strong opinions about Donald Trump. So now I have to try to go to sleep. It's almost midnight. Yeah. So I lock all the doors, front door lock, side door lock, basement door lock, garage door lock, sliding doors lock. Why do I have so many fucking doors all of a sudden? But yes, all of them have been locked. And then I decide to grab a blunt instrument to keep bedside, just in case this thing turns into a, Eastern Promises style knock 'em out battle in the bedroom. But we didn't have a bat, so the only thing I could grab was a Swiffer wet jet. So I was prepared with to swift the shit out of whoever broke into our bedroom.
The perp is gonna run in fear when he sees you got the Swiffer.
Yeah, but if he sprays them,
Yeah.
I'm allergic to pine.
And then that night, before I fell asleep, I got a phone call. This time it's marked clearly the Yorktown Police Department.
Ooh.
And the police officer says, "Mr. Newberger, I cracked the case. Are you sitting down?" He says, "You are always sitting down. You should stand up more." No, he didn't say that. And the officer explains what happened. Dave?
Dun dun.
An out-of-town family had called the police to check on a loved one who had gone silent. That was fairly standard in the COVID quarantine era, that families out of state would check in on a loved one. And the New York detectives went to the home of an older woman, and they found her dead on arrival. Now, the detectives at the time were wearing gloves and following COVID, protocol, and protective gear, like, the big masks and the, what do you call them? The medical mask and the gloves and they have all this shit on. And the coroners were so backed up busy because there was thousands of people dying from COVID that they didn't have the coroners enough to make visits. So the detectives were having to take the crime scene photos and send them to the coroners. And unfortunately, the detective on the scene was wearing these cumbersome COVID gloves and accidentally typed in a phone number 2 digits off from the coroner, which happened to be my cell phone. So they were agonizing. This is what the cop said. The detectives were agonizing on whether to call the phone after realizing the mistake they had made, and decided not to.
Why would they decide not to?
They decided not to because they were chicken shits. They should have.
That was a bad choice, because you probably wouldn't have answered it, because it was probably going to be perceived by you as a threatening call. And then they would have left a message explaining themselves.
Yes.
And they would have cleared it up. That's how that phone call would have gone for them. That's the easiest call in the world to make, because
you're guaranteed to listen to that message.
Yeah.
Now, when the cop called the cop in Yorktown called the detective down in the city to, find out, hey, what's going on, the detective was relieved that it had gone to someone who reported it and not a minor. Because, imagine if that happened.
Yeah.
The detectives should have called me. That is a clear mistake.
Yeah.
Or if they weren't man enough to do that, at least send a text message like, "This is Detective so-and-so. Please disregard the previous message. I apologize for any inconvenience." There are ways to do it. But to choose to do nothing...
It would have been better if you had a follow-up text that said, "Sorry, that was for your mother."
Right. I mean, listen, the police officer from Yorktown did a very nice job and a solid, investigation on this. Cracked the case.
Yeah.
The detective in New York, not so much. Didn't do his job and, blamed it on the gloves like OJ.
Well, I think the lesson here is that you wait until you've got the gloves off to send the text. You just take the pictures with the gloves. So next time you're investigating a crime scene, anybody out there listening, hold off on sending.
I think this story also very beautifully illustrates how my philosophy and way of life is the right one. Because by withholding this information and waiting for it all to blow over, You see, it was really nothing. Nobody had to get upset.
But one thing I wanted to do was I created a few, just as a sort of final note to this story. If you guys watch the show CSI, the criminal investigation show, so they would start every episode with like, you know, the opening title sequence where David Caruso would be at the scene of the crime for the first time, and he would make like one. David Caruso's that like redheaded actor who you know from one movie or two. He would make like a comment, and then they would cut from his comment dramatically to the Who's "We Won't Get Fooled Again." You know, that like big yowl Roger Daltrey does, like. So I wrote a few that might be said at the beginning of this episode, if you'll indulge.
Yeah.
And he always would take his sunglasses off after the first half of the line. So I will try to do that for you, just for a few of them.
All right.
All right. So, looks like this message wasn't meant for the living. If I had the Who music, it would really help us. All right, you ready? Well, that's one way to go viral during a pandemic.
Check back here for more episodes of Generation Exile, little buddies.
I really hate that sad loser, Mr. Newberger.
Who, me?